Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janelle and thank you so much for joining me. Today I am going to be doing a video that now looks a little bit more daunting than I thought, but one I've been wanting to do for a while, and it is my top favorite historical fiction books. How many did I even select? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool, my top 10 favorite historical fiction books. Yes! I wasn't even counting. I was literally going shelf by shelf being like, yep, that. And it's not going to be a ranking from, I might rank afterwards, after I've talked about them, relive my love with them. I might do like a top, like you know what the top 5 or top 3 would be. It's gonna be super chill. Yeah, like I'm in my fuzzy sweater. Is it comfy? Yes. Did I make a delicious gingerbread coffee? Yeah. So grab a snack, grab a cozy drink, just get comfortable because this is going to be a fun chat. So, let me see. Now, in no particular order, genuinely, just because I've stacked them, like I said, as they came off the shelves. The first one, and I'll kind of let you know when I read them as well, because actually, as a bit of a disclaimer, there are a couple where off the top of my head I couldn't instantly be like, yeah, that's what this one is about, but I immediately remember how it made me feel, and it's very much so like, you know, it's an emotional thing to me. But the first one is Geraldine Brooks' The People of, not the, just People of the Book. I read this one last summer, actually, probably nearly exactly a year ago. And it is about an Australian woman, an Australian rare book expert, and she gets the opportunity to look into and assess this newly resurfaced, reclaimed manuscript. It is the famed Sarajevo Hegda, and it's so richly done and described, and basically while she is assessing this very old manuscript, she keeps coming across things that shouldn't necessarily be there. So like each section and different chapters of the book, it'll be like a chapter that's her perspective, and then a chapter about one of these things she's found and how it got to be a part of the manuscript, and then her chapter, and then another thing. So you're discovering the answer to all these mysteries before she does, right? It's so good. It's not, for me, it wasn't so much a character-driven book. It is plot, and I typically am more into character books, but I also like it when it's like jumping back and forth in history and getting the answers, and you do meet other characters, and it means a lot. This book, I guess it could just, an easy way to say the effect it had on me was, there's a character, and this isn't a spoiler because you wouldn't know when it's coming, but there's a character who has a specific type of coffee. It's Arabic coffee, so it's a Turkish coffee. It's coffee with cardamom. It's like a spiced coffee, and I looked up how to get it, how to make it, how to, because just the way it was described and its aroma and everything about it, I wanted to try it. So I got a little pot, I got the coffee, figured out how to make it, and you just have it in like espresso cups. So I got a little espresso cup specifically for that, and every now and again, I actually should have had it for this video, I treat myself to it, and it's such a treat, and it's, oh my goodness, it's amazing. So that's really special to me that I found this from here. The one drawback, I guess you could say, and it depends if you'd consider this a drawback or not, this is about, it's almost 370 pages, and I felt like it took me forever. Whether or not it did, I don't actually remember, but it felt like it took forever, and it's not a small font. I think it's just that detailed. There's that much detail in it. It just took a very long time. It felt like it did, but I did really love it, and it was very special to me. So that is People of the Book. Now, I'm going to try for ones that I've reviewed to not be super detailed. For ones I've put reviews up as well, I'll link the reviews below. This one I haven't done a review for, but I'm still going to try to keep it brief because It's very popular, and rightfully so, but it is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell as well. I read this one last year. Did I read it in March? I think I read it in March or April, and I loved it. I love Shakespeare, so basically it is a book about Shakespeare's family. It's not really about him. It's about his wife and his children. And it's emotional. It is a ride. It's not for everyone. This is one where it is very character driven. So you really need to kind of attach and get an empathy, like a level of empathy for the characters for the book to have its driving home effect. So I know people who didn't like it because they didn't really connect to the characters, and that is important. I really connected to the characters, and I cried multiple times, but I cried. And I really love his wife's story, and she loves nature and how she cares for her kids. And I love that the book tells you like how to pronounce the name, because it looks kind of like Agnes, or is it spelled exactly like Agnes? But you say it as like Agnes, and it's just, I absolutely loved it. I want to read more of Maggie's works because she, to me, is just so amazing at having you just feel the characters' raw emotions, and which makes you experience them yourself, right? So for me, it was a profoundly moving book, and yeah, I really adored it. And that wasn't exactly short. Okay, so the next two, I do have reviews for, so I'll link those below. But the first one is actually the most recent I've read out of all these. I read this last week, start of last week. And that is The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It's dark, it's haunting, it's and amazing and so good. And it's not mermaid in Little Mermaid, like la-di-da kind of way. No, it's dark. It's so atmospheric. The description, like you feel like you're walking around just there. You are there with the characters. The characters, most unique characters I've ever come across. Take that from it. Most unique and just wow characters I have ever come across. There. That is The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. Brilliant book. Right. The next one is A Net for Small Fishes by Lucy Jago. Also this cover and the edges just never cease to just... And again, I have a review for this one. So, A Net for Small Fishes focuses on how it's not Prince and the Pauper. I always go to say Princess and the Pauper because Barbie, but it gets you in the right mindset. There is a woman, she's married to a physician, and she would love to be in court, have financial stability, have that higher tier of respectability for her children, and everything she does is for the love of her children. She also would like this for herself. Then she meets a woman who is in court and is high up in court but is miserable, and they form a friendship that ends up being sisters. You know, it's that close of a bond. I loved it. What I didn't know is this is based on a true story. So that boggles my mind, because these are crazy things, and while you don't necessarily agree with the choices the characters make, you can see how they got to them. You know, you can understand how they came to them. But anyway, I love this one. I really recommend it, especially if you like, again, it's dark. These are all more or less going to have, like, the theme of, like, kind of, like, being dark and everything along that line, but it is definitely dark. Did it make me cry? It got me emotional. For sure it got me emotional. I don't know if it made me cry. Right. Next is The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadish. This one, first of all, has deckled edges, which I love so much, and it's like the perfect format of a book. This is one I read in 2018. There is a historian, an elderly historian, and she gets an American assistant. It's the interwoven tale of two women of remarkable intellect Esther Velasquez, an immigrant from Amsterdam who's permitted to scribe for a blind rabbi just before plague hits the city, and Helen, an ailing historian with a love of Jewish history. So basically there's newly discovered, artifacts or newly discovered manuscripts. A new discovery of Jewish documents. So herself and this American student have to analyze them and look into them. And while they're doing that, you're jumping back in time and you're seeing Esther's story as well. And especially, it's leading up to the plague and everything, which is intense. And for me, it's not specific moments in the book that I remember. It's just the way that it made me feel. It is a long book. It is long, but, it's near 600 pages. Yeah, 564. But it didn't feel nearly as long as People of the Book to me. So, and I haven't really seen anything about it since I read it, but I would highly recommend it, especially if you do like that time-jumping historical fiction. I don't know if it's a trope, but trope. I love that. So you do get, the 2000s and then the 1660s, and it is so good. Love it. Okay, I'm deciding which one to pick up next. Sure, we'll do this one. Okay, this one is The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber, and I read this one August last year, and this one, I'm kind of mad it's on my list. And genuinely, when my mom watches this, she'll be like, is that not the book that you voice noted me yelling about? I'll be like, yes, that's the one. This book, I've changed my rating on it, to be honest with you. When I first finished it, I rated it a 3, and I've changed to a 4 now because it's almost a year later, and I still think about it constantly. So that kind of just shows. It hit a bit harder than I realized. The thing is, so this is a big book. It's 836 pages, I believe, and basically it's about the life of this prostitute named Sugar. It's set in London, and it kind of tells her story from her perspective. It does, if I'm not mistaken, have other perspectives as well. Yeah, it does. But it's mainly her story, kind of how she got to where she is in life, what she wants to do to change the path her life is on. And, it's not for everybody, because it is dark, it's very gothic, it's very, it is the underbelly of London. So it is, there's moments where certain, preventative medical methods are described that I was like, ooh, okay. So it's not light and fluffy by any means, but just the description, I lived in this book. I read it in 3 weeks, and I loved it. Every night I would just read chunks of it and adored it. The reason I'm mad it's on my list, the reason I gave it 3 stars, the reason I voice noted my mom yelling is I hated the ending. And for me, it's so important for books to have a strong ending. But I hated, I was angry. I didn't like the ending. I really need a strong ending. I wasn't expecting a good ending. I'm not saying I need a good ending. That's not a happy ending. This book would very much so suit a negative ending. I wouldn't have been surprised. But the thing is, it didn't really have one at all. I felt like it stopped in the middle of the climax, in the middle of the height of the action, and was like, okay, bye. I was like, And it wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. The way the narration style is, it's extremely intentional. It's like, well, that was a bit abrupt, but it's the way life is. See ya is essentially the way it ends, as for paraphrasing, but So I was livid, to say the least, but clearly it meant something to me, because the atmosphere and everything that happened in this book, and just the darkness and the gothic, it's been very hard to come by again. It was similar in the Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. I really liked that to it. But yeah. It's crazy. But this also, is a book that had my most favorite narration ever, where the way it was like the narrator was talking to you as a reader, but not even just like, and here's what happened. It was, we're following them. So it basically made it feel like we were like creeping behind them in the whole book, just following their shadows. The narration was unbelievable. So if you're not a super stickler for a really completed ending, I so recommend this. I so recommend this. But if you're not sure, I warned you. I'll just say that. I warned you. Okay? Alright, so the next one I'm going to talk about is My Dear Hamilton by Stephanie Dray and Libby... Sorry, where did I get Libby from? Where was it? Stephanie Dray and Laura Kamoe? I'm so sorry. Anyway, this is about Hamilton's wife, Elizabeth. Oh yeah, Eliza. Yeah, of course. So did I read this one last year as well? No, I think I read this one in 2019. And this one was so... Oh, it has stuff in it. Oh, cool. Bookmarks. Haven't seen that in a while. This one is, again, very emotional. You follow Eliza from, like, before she's married to Alexander Hamilton, to their marriage, to them becoming parents. So you also see all the moments in his career, but you see her as a wife and how she's supporting him in that. You see the marital problems. You see choices that are made that aren't necessarily fantastic. You see the family dynamics, what happens within them, what changes within them, and friends turn enemies, and it's a ride, and it's a really good one, but wow, yeah, I remember crying with this one. Yeah, definitely. It was such an enjoyable but emotional read. So, yeah, here's that one. What's next? Okay, I've got 3 left. Right, I'll talk about that one next. That'll work? Okay. So the next one, oh, this one's emotional. Oh, what's this in here? Oh, wow. Right, okay. Sorry, I'm discovering all the things in my books. Okay, sorry. I found what I used as my bookmark, which was my, basically, this has a whole story. This is one of the very last books I bought in Canada, when, like, living in Canada. I worked, at a bookstore in Canada. I worked for, them for years and loved it, at my last day there was, like, the day before Miles came to Canada for me to move to Northern Ireland with him. So I worked up as long as I could because I loved it. And this is one of the last books I bought as an employee, literally maybe my last day or a couple days before. And it is Alison Weir's the Six Tudor Queens series and Belana King's Obsession. So I have 2 others. I have Catherine Howard, the Tainted Queen, and Catherine Parr, the Sixth Wife. Yeah, and I will say the UK covers are so much nicer than the Canadian or North American ones. I just also don't like covers with people on it, which I've just realized the last 3 books have. But anyway, this one's kind of self-explanatory. It's Anne Boleyn's story. It's her story from pretty much meeting Henry, or maybe a bit before, and the whole courtship, and all the drama, and getting divorced to Catherine of Aragon, and coming in, and the pregnancies, and the miscarriages, and Elizabeth, and the jousting accident, and all of that, and, you know, we all know what happens, so I can't really spoil the ending, but she wrote it so well, so amazingly. It was such a page turner. I really felt for Anne the whole time. The ending, even though, like, you know, majority would know kind of what happens in the ending. Like, Henry wasn't known for treating his wives with mercy. But basically with, I'm trying to figure out how to say things, how she wrote the very final moments was really surprising to me and chilling. Absolutely chilling. Okay, we are at the final 2. So, this second last one, you could tell, like, I'm like, these are getting special now. Like, these are ones that I've read a while ago. Like, I read these last two, I either read maybe at the end of 2017. Actually, do I have my receipt in here? I tend to keep my receipts in, and then I kind of know when I bought it, and I know these last two I read right when I bought them. Hold on. Okay. June of 2018? Oh, no, actually, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's right. Okay. So, this is The Scribe of Siena by Melody Winnower, and read it. It's so good. It's such a good book. It's amazing. And yes, I did read it in June because I moved here in July, and you'll see my name here saying staff pick. And basically what it is staff members get to pick their favorite books, and you get to put stickers on the books, and it kind of lets customers know, oh, someone's recommended this, and then they can see if that staff member's in and chat with them. And we also had to get knowledge of everybody else's favorites that way, and it helped give very meaningful recommendations. And this one, I remember I finished it, and I said to my manager, I was like, I really want to staff pick this, and she was like, do it. You know, and I was like, well, I'm leaving, but like, I still wasn't leaving for at least a few weeks. And she was like, you're still an employee for a few weeks? So this was my final staff pick. And this sticker, actually, this one, she wrote this sticker. So, I wanted this one. Didn't tell you anything about it. I'm just going to do this. New York, present day. In the wake of her brother's untimely death, Beatrice Trovato is surprised to learn she's inherited not only his historic house in picturesque Siena, but also his research into the secret history of this Tuscan city he once called home. And it also involves time jumping. And I'm going to leave it there. You know what? Yeah, right. The last book. Oh, this one's also emotional. I saved all the emotional ones for the end. And when did oh, the receipts faded. Yeah, I got this one in November 2017. I was like, I didn't read this in 2018. No, I read this one in 2017, and it's The Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson. Now, Andrew Davidson, if I'm not mistaken, is a Canadian author. Pretty positive he is. I'll let you know on the screen. I'm pretty sure he is. Anyway. This one, this one's hard to describe. This one, the main character isn't a likable main character. I'm going to put that right out here. This guy has an accident. He ends up being a burn victim. He's not he's not one to be like, I'm thankful I'm still alive. He's one to count his losses instead of his wins, right? So I tend to not have patience for those characters, but another character comes in, and she insists that she's known him for centuries. And he's kind of like, okay, like, is there something not okay with you? Basically, and she just insists she's known him for centuries, and she goes on to describe all of these different times that they've known each other throughout history. And it starts to sound a bit convincing, and he ends up going back to her place to stay with her, and she's a gargoyle sculptor, and she basically feels that she has to carve gargoyles, which is why, if you saw my bookshelf tour, there's gargoyle statues around my library, because for anyone coming in, it's so random, but for me, it means so much. And she basically, so again, we get the time jumping where she's telling him these different stories of where they've known each other in history, and it's so believable, and he starts to be like, okay, is something not alright with her, or is this true? So he starts not really knowing what his reality is. But this book gave me the most intense book hangover I've ever had. Ever. I've never had one the same. I've never read a book that's made me feel just the same as this. And it was to the point, I love books that like make me question my reality. And like, basically, did this happen? Like, I love the goal is to buy a book and know that it's fiction, but while you're reading it, wonder if it is. And that's what this book did. I've read one other book that's made me feel like that. I'm actually currently reading a book that's happened a couple times in, which is cool. And it's like, no, that can't be real, but it was written in such a real way, it had me questioning everything. It's not the kind of cover, like, the ones that you see me get the most emotional about, they're not the kind of covers I'm drawn to. But this one, it sang to me. It called to me from the shelves. The amount of times I passed this one on the shelves and pulled it out and glanced at it and looked at it and put it back and carried on. It went on for like, I think a few weeks of me just really eyeing up this book, and then was finally like, okay, I'll read it. the first time when I saw, like, in the description, burn victim, I was like, not for me, put it back. But it just persistently caught my eye, caught my attention. And I'm so very thankful that it did. Okay, so that completes the mini reviews of all of these books and what they're about. To rank them, okay, the Gargoyle gets first spot. The Gargoyle's just kind of like, it's literally like, I could easily, if someone was like, what are your 2 favorite books? It's this one and another one that are on the same, like, playing field for me. Then, I feel like I'm going backwards through the list here. Then it would be Scribe of Siena. We're gonna juggle a little bit, and if a book drops, I will cry. Okay, then it would be The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. Yeah, I'm debating, like, on a different day, it might be above the Scribe of Siena. Then Anne Boleyn. Then, then A Net for Small Fishes. Of course, I put People of the Book on the ground. Like, yeah, I'm already short enough. Okay, People of the Book is not in this. It's not the next, but I'm just talking about it. Sorry. Then, My Dear Hamilton. Ooh, that's getting too. Yeah. Yeah. Hamnet, The Crimson Petal and the White, The Weight of Ink, and the People of the Book. Not the People of the Book. People of the Book. Ha! So, those are my favorites. That is the order of them. If you're wanting, like, a really just traditional historical fiction, it'd be Dear Mrs. Hamilton. 100%. My Dear Mrs. Hamilton, rather, sorry. If you're looking, and Anne Boleyn, of course. If you're looking really dark, you're gonna look for The Crimson Petal and the White, The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock, and The Gargoyle. Scribe of Siena, I would put more kind of in tier with The Weight of Ink and People of the Book, because it's all kind of around discoveries of manuscripts and artifacts and time jumping back about it. So I would say Scribe of Siena, People of the Book, and The Weight of Ink for kind of that vibe. And then A Net for Small Fishes and Hamnet are, well, they're both set in England. A Net for Small Fishes has an amazing female friendship, and Hamnet has not really friendships, but you can really see familial bonds and like family ties, and in a very special way. If you have any recommendations for me based off of the ones that I have read, please feel free, send them my way, tell me about them. I want to know. And if you have any questions about any of them, let me know. Either comment below or message me on Instagram. It's Libris_lover. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any other videos like this you'd like me to do, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching, and take care.